Move over to the 49ers here, the Super Bowl runner-up 49ers. Obviously, they have Deebo Samuel there. He has been like the guy for them in that wide receiver core. Had an absolute breakout season. Can't wait to see what he can do in 2020. We mentioned Emmanuel Sanders time and time again, 33 years old. I actually think they signed him. I think he showed re-sign him. He showed a lot of promise in that offense. They don't have a ton of passing volume with the Shanahan scheme that they like to run. Kendrick Bourne is a free agent. He was kind of their wide receiver 3. We saw him get some looks, in the playoff stretch. And they have a bunch of names that are kind of falling off in terms of Marquise Goodwin, Dante Pettis. In terms of cap space, they don't have much to work with. They only have $12 million. That puts them at 28th. And they have one draft pick, which is the 31st pick in the first round. So not a ton for them to work with, which makes me think, hey, let's just re-sign Sanders and then go from there. Maybe get a smaller free agent. Maybe we re-sign Kendrick Bourne, just kind of keep that same core that got us to the Super Bowl. But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's hard. There's really no other option than to agree with you. I think they try to bring Sanders back. We talked about it earlier with the Colts. Like, it's so hard to keep the status quo in the NFL and stay competitive year over year. So realistically, like, if they're able to bring Emmanuel Sanders back, they're pretty much going to have the same roster. Maybe they try to make a little upgrade here, a little upgrade there. But of all the teams we've talked about, they have the least flexibility. So if Sanders does walk or they're not able to re-sign him, maybe they don't want to pay him because they want to use that money elsewhere. Like, they could go for a guy like a Randall Cobb, like a veteran who can come in and be effective, a similar role to what Sanders had. Maybe a younger guy like a Nelson Aguilar. I know he's not quite as proven and consistent at this point in his career, but yeah, it's interesting that the 49ers are in such a bind cap-wise. I think they probably go after Sanders and try to run it back, but you look at Jimmy G eating up $26 million of that cap. And then on the D-line, D Ford's got a $16 million cap hit. DeForest Buckner is at $14 million. Richard Sherman, in the secondary is at $14 million. Solomon Thomas is at $9 million. So you just look at that defensive front, and their contracts are absolutely eating up their cap space. Jerick McKinnon is still on the books for $8.5 million, so that certainly doesn't help. So maybe they get creative. I think they can certainly find some ways to get some more cap and maybe make some things work. But yeah, it just makes sense for them to try to run it back in 2020.